I was born in Urumqi, the capital city of the Uyghur homeland. My homeland is among China's most ethnically diverse region. It is home to about 11 million Uyghurs who speak their own language and have their own distinct culture. It was in school where the brainwashing from the Chinese Communist Party began. We were brainwashed about how great the Chinese Communist Party was by saying, without the Communist Party, there would be no new China. At that time, Uyghurs were already living under oppression. But during that time, as a child, my life was happy and carefree. I had a close relationship with my mother, Rahila Dawood, who is my inspiration and motivation. She is my mentor in everything, life, study, and work. My mother values education and wants me to see the world. That's why I came to the United States after I finished my undergraduate degree in China. I wasn't involved in politics. I didn't have much understanding of the political issue. I didn't even open Twitter. The only time I went on platforms such as Facebook or YouTube was to watch funny cat videos. I talked to my mother every day. Some days we couldn't help but spend more than 1 hour talking to each other. My mother worries about me living here in a foreign country alone and wants to know all about my daily life. I also love talking to her because she is smart and humorous. It was December 12, 2017. I first lost contact with her. I remember vividly. I was scared at first. I anxiously asked my family members the whereabouts of my mother's. At first, they just found an excuse to comfort me by saying, "Your mother has an important things to do and she will return soon." But later on, I knew she was detained. That deeply shocked me at first. I was supposed to do many things at that time, but I cannot get out of my bed because of fear and depression. I gradually collected myself and did daily functions such as going to work, cooking, and studying, but my fear and depression stayed. Because of my naive hope for the Chinese government, I somehow had the hope that she might be released soon. And I naively wait for that day to come. That hope gradually vanished after I read more news about Uyghurs. The truth shocked me to an extent that you will never understand. China is committing an unprecedented crime against humanity, against the Uyghur population and the other Muslim groups in our homeland. Human rights groups believe China has detained millions of Uyghurs over the past few years into the so-called re-education camp and sentenced countless people to the prison terms. That includes my innocent mother, Rahila Dawood. The conditions of those camps were horrible. Former camps detainees have given testimony that they were tortured and sexually abused happened in those camps. Uyghurs were forced out of their homes to work for factories that supply major global brands. China's alleged actions towards Uyghurs have violated every single provision in the United Nations Genocide Convention. As an Uyghur, I know how risky and life-threatening it is for us to get into political affairs. We can be easily labeled as separatists or terrorists even though we have never done anything unlawful. Now I realize it's not about the loyalty to the Chinese government. Your loyalty to the Chinese Communist Party is not going to save you. I decided to break my silence because I lost hope for the Chinese government. I decided to break my silence because if anything happened to my mother, I won't forgive myself. I decided to break my silence because I began to read and hear stories and I realized we are experiencing a systematic genocide. This was life-changing for me. Today, I am an activist standing here to fight for justice for my mother and all the Uyghurs that are currently being imprisoned. Activism is a long journey. Because of my activism, I cannot go back to my homeland anymore. If I go back, I will also be in prison. But I am luckier than all the Uyghurs that are currently suffering in camp and prison. The world must take action. Because in the past, we said never again after the Holocaust. But now, we are letting the genocide happen again. Government and human rights organizations must take immediate and urgent actions to protect Uyghurs. Thank you. In the past, people doubt the existence of the concentration camp and deny that Uyghurs are suffering. But now, with all the evidence, with all the tearful testimonies from the victims, with all the testimonies from the devastated children like me who are looking for their parents, we don't have any excuse to say we don't know what's happening to Uyghurs. All of you here can and must contribute to the fight against this atrocity. Whether you are a government official, a journalist, or a person just like me, my sincere suggestion would be to please try your best to spread the word. You can share an article on your social media. You can tell your friends and families and inform them about the issue. Don't buy clothing made with Uyghur forced labor. Also, please sign the petition related to the Uyghur genocide. It would only take 1 minute, but it can save life. Please help me to save my mother and all the Uyghurs that are suffering. Thank you.